Jay Lawson here, welcome back. This week I wanted to talk about something that I often get asked when the moment I tell people I am a conductor. They always go, what is a conductor? What do they do? What even is the point? And that's a great question because, what is the point of conductor? Some orchestras would argue that it's super irrelevant and that they would rather do it without one. But essentially, a conductor is there to shape a performance and an interpretation. And depending on the work that they're performing and the level of the skill of the musicians playing, they are there to make sure that the work doesn't go off the rails and keep everyone focused on achieving the same goal. So the bare bones of what it is that you're actually doing is that the right hand, usually, there are left-handed conductors, but generally the right hand is giving you the speed and the tempo and the amount of beats in a bar. So most music, a lot of music is in 4/4 time, what we call 4/4 time, so it's got 4 beats in the bar. So the way that's done is that you go beat number 1 is down, beat number 2, beat number 3, and beat number 4. So it's telling the orchestra or whoever's playing that there are your beats. You're playing here on the first beat, second beat, third beat, fourth beat, and you're giving them the speed at which they have to perform the notes. The right hand is then generally, the left hand is then generally free to cue people or give some more specific information like be a bit louder, be a bit softer, you're coming in now, more crisp or more elegant and legato. So that's like the bare bones of what you're doing. You're giving time with one hand and you're giving musical and practical information with the other hand. This came about because way back hundreds of years ago, mostly in opera, but also in larger ensembles, groups were generally only a few musicians, but as over time, which I've mentioned in other videos, like the Beginner's Guide to the Orchestra, as the orchestra grew in size, there obviously needed to be one person that ran the rehearsals, ran the interpretation, and also called the shots on what was going on musically. And because of course you couldn't have all 10 or so people making those choices, you just don't have the time to do that. So generally it was the person playing the first violin part and they were using a bow. And they would use the bow to show the beats, and the bow eventually over time changed to just be a stick or a baton, as we would call it now. So that person is vested in sort of the authority to run the rehearsal, run the performance, and interpret the work that they're doing. Now, the next thing is is a conductor even necessary? And a lot of the times, if it's like a big professional orchestra, they're not really, to be honest. But they might be there as a elite artist, interpreting and shaping the work to the way that they have the vision for it. So if you go to a concert of like a really big, important professional orchestra, it's less likely that the conductor is there to make sure that everyone plays together on time, and they're more there to shape an interpretation and a performance. If you're working with like a youth orchestra, a group of students, or you're conducting new music, which I do a lot, your role as a conductor is less about interpreting and shaping, and it's more about making sure that everything is precise, together, accurate, and then of course you're teaching, and that's a big part of conducting. Even with a professional orchestra, you're always teaching a group of people about either your interpretation, or if it's a new work, you're teaching them the new work, or if it's a student orchestra, you might be introducing them to Beethoven for the first time, that sort of thing. So I hope that gives you a little bit more of an idea of what conducting is. There is so many different ways to conduct and so many different types of conducting. I personally don't use a stick. I generally just use my hands. I find that really expressive, but there are times I have used a stick, and sometimes if I'm dealing with a really big orchestra or I'm conducting opera where it's difficult to see, I will use a stick for clarity. But most of the time lately I've been using just my hands. A lot of conductors use a stick. There's different schools of conducting. The French are famous for conducting in a kind of a different way to the Germans, and then America is different, Britain is different, and then Scandinavia has kind of been very in vogue lately. So there's different approaches, different schools, and then of course it depends on the sort of music that you're conducting. Russian music has a very different cultural feel, different musical feel to German music and French music, and all require you to do different things with your body. So sometimes I think about myself more as a dancer and a person who is expressing music and feelings with my body than I am necessarily like a musician playing at the piano. So it's kind of an ephemeral, very strange thing watching somebody up there just waving their arms around. But I assure you they are doing, or at least they're attempting to be as communicative and as important to shape an interpretation and a performance. So think about that a little bit more the next time you may watch a conductor. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I will have more videos coming out in the coming days. Bye.